Hello and welcome back to the She Gallery Show. Thank you for being with me. Tonight is a very special night. We always say that. This is now season 14. I've been on the air for a few years now since CAN TV opened at this location. I grew with this station and there's been a lot of changes in this station. There's been a lot of changes in the world. And we don't always like those changes. Those changes make us very uncomfortable. And sometimes we can't do anything about those changes. Sometimes we have to hang them on the cross. The end of 2023 was, actually all of 23 for me personally was full of change. Definitely a different girl than the girl that you met 14 seasons ago. I was very naive, so I was very happy. They say ignorance is bliss. For everybody that's ignorant, enjoy your bliss. Because good Lord, a lot has changed in 14 seasons. In 2020, I started working with two legendary artists, graffiti writers here in Chicago, Pango and Trickster. I had actually started working with Trickster before then, but it was in 2020 that I sat here with Pango, and he was so passionate about Chicago style writing. And I said, Pango, you know, Trickster and I have been talking about having this exhibit with showing his evolution and showing how Chicago evolved in this movement. You know, why don't you work with us and focus on Chicago style writing? And that's what we did. Pango, Trickster, and I met for months and months and months to find the perfect roster to see who here in Chicago be recognized as the artists that helped shape Chicago style graffiti. And we worked with 10 artists, first generation writers, and we celebrated family resemblance, the evolution of Chicago style graffiti. At the time, I was just a paralegal having an exhibit and extremely excited. Everyone was excited. It was like a dream come true. And I was warned, Orko may not come through. Orko may not come through. And I said, well, we can't remove Orko. He's too important to history. And they were right. Panel 1, where's Orko? I don't know. This is Orko, you need to be here right now. We're starting our first panel. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? He's on the phone. And I send an Uber immediately. And he shows up to his first panel. He thanked me endlessly the next day. The day of the exhibit, which was March 4th, 2021, was also Chicago's birthday. Where's Orko? Where's Orko? I don't know. They say he's sick. No, Orko, this is your moment. You have to be here. You have to be here. Couldn't find Orko. At some point, I had spoken to his father, so I had his father's phone number. And there I go calling Orko's dad. And next thing you know, Orko's dad makes sure that Orko calls me back. And next thing you know, I'm FaceTiming Orko, who's laying out on his couch. Says, Orko, what are you doing? Today's this exhibit. You have to be here. He sent another Uber. And made sure that he was there. The next day, Orko called and he said, I love you. There were many conversations that Orko and I had had since our first interview here, and in preparation for family resemblance, the evolution of Chicago style graffiti. Very different than many of the conversations that I had with many of these other writers. Our communication didn't stop at preparation, nor throughout the show. Oracle kept in touch. And Oracle always showed gratitude towards the opportunity to work here with us. I have been so blessed that many people knew Oracle for so many years since he started writing in 1985. So many people knew him, grew up with him, looked up to him. And I had the privilege of working with him, getting to know him, not just Oracle. I got to know Rodney Wade. I'm forever grateful for that. January, I decided to dedicate this season to Oracle because there is so much to celebrate. Such a great person for you to get to know. The bit that we got to know him, we need to share that story, his story. So in 2021, I had the great privilege of interviewing Oracle here. He showed up fashionably late. And I made a top on purpose with a scarf to make sure it read his name, which he loved. Couldn't stop talking about it. So tonight we're going to dedicate this evening to Oracle. S.H.E, his piece that we have here in the background, shared by Pango One. The messages went around December 21st. The night of December 21st was the night that we found that we had lost Oracle. Some of us are still processing this loss. We're celebrating his life. Tonight I'm sharing this video here with you.
Oh, 1 mile in fog patches and showers early Friday, but improving to greater than 6 miles on Friday morning.
Stars shining bright above me. Night breezes seem to whisper sycamore tree. Dream a little dream Night breezes seem to whisper
Introduce yourself. Let the people know who is Oracle for those of you who don't know, and thank you.
The heroes from the time they like somebody to right now.
That's a question I still ask myself today. You know, like, you know, first of all, I'm a b-boy, and most graffiti writers, they were writers, and that was it. But I was a break dancer, and in my early years in San Francisco, I was a dancer that was doing the robot at Pier 39. So a lot of the style and technique and elegance that came along with it came from a group called Demons of the Minds. So as if you had the thing going on in New York with the rapping and the breaking, you had the dancing over there with the moonwalk of Michael Jackson, the robot and all that. That was on the West Coast. So when I came into Chicago, that's when the whole thing of breaking hit the scene. And I was a b-boy first. Before I was a graffiti writer. And I think this is around time 84, this is around time B Street came out. So what we would do is that we would battle each other on the south side. We didn't even know the north side existed. It was like, who, you know, we didn't know. That we went downtown and we turned around and went back on the 54B train. And if you was from Inglewood, you caught the Howard A train. And if you was from Jackson Park, you caught the B train. These are all lines that don't exist anymore. And I was off the 54B, because the 54B would let you off at Cicero. And S.H.E was the king of that line at ACW. So at ACW...
All City Riders.
All City Riders, and then there's a group called BTR, Crazy Crew. And then, you know, when you got off into that, we ended up on the south side, and we went to go see a movie, Beach Street. And, of course, you're going to throw, you know, dynamic rock. I mean, the Rocksteady crew versus New York City Breakers, and that was something. But when we watched that whole segment, there was one thing that I didn't understand, is that the man pulled out some paint and wrote his name on the train, and so the breaking was gone. That day, breaking was over with. Doing nothing. Picnic went to Kennedy. There was 2 schools out of my neighborhood, and this, you had a little corner, like a square with black people. Then you had the Spanish people here, and then you had I don't know if they were skinheads. They were here, and you had to ride to Archer. You either go this way to go to Curie, or you go way down here to Narragansett to go to Kennedy. And you had the people that probably didn't have a whole lot of money, like me. We went to Kennedy, and so you had, some Puerto Ricans, some Mexican guys that was breaking dance, and then you had me and Nick. So you go here to Cicero, you go up, and then you go 54B. That was our route. Or you went to 55th, and then you went that way. And I can't say that we were the first crew to do that like that, but I think at that particular time, ABC at that time was like we couldn't understand that they had that kind of stuff going on up there. It was the closest to New York I had ever seen. Until right around the time I seen that, we ended up seeing a rooftop on the south side, and it was one like the north side, but it was done by a kid named Warp. And I was like, yo.
A kid named Warp.
Yeah, he's black. And then that was like, we thought that this was a Latin thing, but then we got this brother from Cabrini that did a fly wall called Warpified. And then the reader puts out a story off the wall or something, and we flipped through the thing, and there's Trickster with a hat, kind of flipped up, and it said the Trickster. And he's sitting with a marker, or can of paint or marker. And then when I found out that Trickster was from the hood, we really was winning in, because this was a popular dude. And I knew by the way of Bill Finley, I needed to get to know him. But, it was hard at that time because everybody was kind of doing their own thing. This is a very split up, the Puerto Ricans, Polish, Spanish.
Segregation, Chicago.
Yeah. Nobody was talking to nobody. At that time.
And so then at some point, and we talk a lot about Bill Finley, and we talk a lot about Sheldon's, which seems to be very prominent. Last week we were here with Take Two, and we were talking about what Bill Finley...
in fact, the first time I wrote my name on a train, I was with Warp, and he took me to the Howard Racine yards. That's my yard. I came out of that yard. Now, this is pre-Trickster. I didn't know nothing about those guys, and I didn't know how to get in contact with them. So when we decided to put this meeting together, Warp, who had real big power in Cabrini, and he said, well, let's throw it a meeting. Of course, we can get all the South Side. We black. We can get those guys, but how are we going to get those guys? ABC. No, ABC don't talk to nobody. It was hard to get a hold of ABC at that time. And then I said, well, maybe if we can get a hold of Trickster, we can probably figure something out. So this is a true story. So once I got Trickster...
still uniting. You don't even know.
Once I got Trickster on the phone, I talked to him about it, and he said, well, come over. So I was like, man, I'm going to meet the Trickster. So
I'm going to meet the Trickster.
That's what his name. His name was the Trickster. If you call him Trickster, you really don't know. It's the Trickster. So
that's like respect.
At this point in time,
street respect.
I wanted to paint with him, but I said, man, but we out south and it's the suburbs. We had like a building square. So it's a little bit late in the industry now. I'm not going to go to jail for this. So I took a suitcase and I filled it up in the store with spray paint. So I took about 50 cans to his house. And I said, yo, you want to be the king of the line? Let's go. And we became cool. And then he brought in all those guys. But he told me that there was a chance that I could make it on ABC as a running past seeing them. So when we put the meeting together, me and Warp and everybody met each other, we got turned down from ABC by Trickster. And me and Nick's dreams were shot. He said, but I got something better. I want y'all to be on NPC with Defsky and Train, and y'all can save my original crew. Y'all still connected to ABC, but y'all gonna be on NPC. And I was like, what? How does that work? That's 2 different crews, and we'll get more into that a little bit later, but that's kind of how that went.
Okay.
So that
I'm going to play this little tiny clip here that I have for 1 second. This is Orko 4 years ago on Midway Radio.
Cool to be hip hop back then. And I remember all of the key players. I remember all of them. I mean, as though as if it was yesterday. And it's just certain ones that just need credit, not necessarily me, because I did so much. And it's not about me in this. It's about me giving you guys that one part of this documentary that, not saying no one's lying. I'm just saying that some people look at that thing called fame, and you get further if you tell the story the way it was written. You know, like when Moses would have came out the mountains with the Ten Commandments and changed a couple things that God told him.
I don't know how much you guys were able to hear that, but what Orko is saying, that he wants to make sure that credit is due, right?
Sure, sure.
That is exactly what you were saying. And you're saying that you were there in the beginning of this hip-hop development here before Common came along. You saw it happen and you witnessed it. You saw the way that Chicago grew, not only with graffiti, but with hip-hop as a whole, right?
Sure.
And then you leave Chicago, 13 years old, you start living in the streets. So you really grew up in the streets. 13 years old, you go north side, you go south side. And then you also leave Chicago and you take it a step further. And I love hearing the stories about you, Slang, and Trickster, and then influencing all of the city. I hear 3 kids, right? I hear 3 friends having fun, exploring their imagination, exploring the neighborhoods, exploring the world. And Slang talks to you and he says, hey, let's go out to New York.
No, California.
To California.
Right.
You go with Trickster to New York. You get robbed in '86. You guys have completely different experiences, and you learn, and you meet some people, and then you also go to California that Sling had convinced you to go to.
No, that's not the first time. Not the first time. The first time I went out to San Francisco, there was some family issues, and I was like, I'm out of here. And so what happens is we had a terrible experience in New York. And I made a mistake and called my grandmother.
Oh.
And I told my grandmother, hey, we're stranded in New York. And she said, how in the heck can you go from bad to worse? So Trickster's eating pomegranates.
Wait, you can't say bad words either. But real quick, I don't want to spend too much time talking about your experience in New York because I want to focus on all that about like your influence here in Chicago and around those states. But your experience in New York was one experience, and you had a completely different experience in California, and we are in the Midwest. When you went to California with Slang, such a home Chicago body, got homesick, and he comes back, but you stood out there and you started making friends. You started networking. You used your style, right? So I love that you say you guys rocked your clothes. You guys made your own clothes. You go out there, you're looking like $1,000,000 just because you guys are creative individuals. And from there, you started networking. And there's an individual that tells you, you didn't do that. You start showing him your little black book that all writers have, that all writers know. And you start showing him your little black book, and he's like, you didn't do that. And you do his name. And then he sees, oh, crap, this guy's the real deal. So from your own skill, you're taking out and you're meeting these musicians that...
For me, Subway Out was personal because I didn't enjoy the book. Because the leader of CBA, which was called The Wiz, he was good with an airbrush. And here it is, me and Nick were 2 black kids in the black and Spanish neighborhood. And we would draw all day in class and draw all day. We would show it to him. And he'd be like, yeah, that's all right. But he had an airbrush, so every day he had a different style. So we was like, we can't catch this dude. So he was like the Bible for us. And when we got the book, we went through the book, and the book was like, I think I've seen that before. And so this dude took letters from T-Kid, Scheme, Scene, and rearranged it on his coats. And then I realized that I'm bragging about this crew, and this is a biter. And it's like the worst thing you can do in graffiti is like be a biter, and like a biter of the worst kind. Like he was like the first Xerox machine. He copied identical. And so I got so mad about it, I punched him in the mouth. So that's how that went. So Somewhere Out wasn't a good look for me. I had already seen it on his jacket.
Beautiful. Something else, we want to talk about biters. And
Trickster is like the library, and he's like really smart. Like some of the stuff he says to me, even now I have to go look up. Like, what are you talking about? So there was this whole thing about, they started calling graffiti aerosol art. And I asked him, I said, what do you mean? Isn't it a can? It's some new stuff called aerosol. So it's like
era.
It was like when Prince did 1999 again. I was at a party 1998 or 2000, 1999. I think it was 1999 or the year 2000. I don't know, 1999 at 12 o'clock 2000. We all gonna die because of the song.
Y2K.
Well, the same thing happened with Trickster with the aerosol age. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He says the aerosol age. So we got to prepare for that. So he said, Slang is going to be animated because he draw the characters. So we're going to do a wizard character with Slang with the cartoons. I'm going to be gothic because I'm the letters. I'm going to have an E on mine. And you're going to have a crystal ball with the colors coming off of it because we're going to a new age. And this is about a month before this is supposed to kick off. So the clock is ticking. We didn't do the wall, and I just knew the next day when I woke up, we was not going to be spray paint and regular caps. That next day, we're still doing the same stuff. Oh my gosh! So the fence is based on 3 people: animated, gothic, element. The Feds, Forever Development Styles. But we are a branch of a group called the Federation, which was the all-star dream team crew. And you can't say the Feds without saying the Federation, which was invented by S.H.E. You got that we would have never, I'm a member of the Federation. I'm just NPC. And that's it. And it has to be said that way. So if you want to join the Feds, it's not like the Feds and then you put FEDS apostrophe SS. It can't be no third person. It can't be no fourth person because the way Trickster designed it. So if somebody said they on the Feds and they get this, they got to charge that to Trickster. It was his ingredients. He cooked up that meal.
Trickster seemed to cook up all the ingredients for all Chicago style, and we owe him like so much. This is so dope, and he remains so humble. So we talk about this. It's so thought out, you know.
I had a problem with the art teacher saying that graffiti wasn't art, so I said I'll put the cans down. I pick up the paintbrush, and when I went to go meet these guys in New York, I had invested a lot of time as a teenager, and I said, "Trick, let's go up there and figure out what we invest in our time in."
Yeah, let me pause there for a second. He said, this is what Orko said, because Orko got an F in a midterm when he was trying to show off his graffiti skills. And after he got an F, he dropped out, and he said, I'm going to go after the art world because you said that graffiti artists could not qualify in the art world. So I put the spray can down and I picked up everything they had.
Yeah.
And I went after them.
Yeah. That's what writers do. You take all of this, right, and then you say we're not a part of that thing. When we're the only American art form that there is. Painting the face didn't start in America. That's London and Michelangelo and Picasso.
That's not crazy dedication, man. That's crazy dedication.
It came from here, right? And then you say we're not a part of it. Like jazz and graffiti is one and the same, and to take a kid from a project and shoot their dreams down because they innovated something, and then now one of the biggest stars in the art movement is a Haitian kid in New York dressing like the Marley family called Jean-Michel Basquiat. He's a graffiti writer. So now y'all took one of our guys and made him popular, but he sell $1 million paintings. He's no longer here, but that's not art. But now y'all just made an exception. Now it's big. Wait a minute, you lied to us. So, whereas if a lot of these cats, you kill a person's confidence with that. You were like, after graffiti, a lot of my friends went to jail and died. It was like, after graffiti, it was just like, what are you going to do now?
And something else very interesting, the hip-hop movement, and Chicago seems to also be an underdog for this hip-hop movement. So we're talking about serious underdogs that are seriously underground. And something very interesting that you say, it's because of the people itself. It is the people that made this movement, and it is the people that control this movement, that have power over this movement. Now, when graffiti writers or anybody that's in the hip-hop genre but is not using that element of unity and knowledge of wisdom, then it kind of falls apart because you're not evolving that to the next youth because of power trips. So something that you said was that the writers don't honor their masters, and that's not to say like, oh, honor thee, but to learn from the masters, right? Sure. Can you talk a little bit more about that? I know we only have a few minutes left, and I want you to explore a little bit more about your feel on Chicago style graffiti and where graffiti has gone since you watched it develop. I mean, you've watched it not just in Chicago, but all through the States.
Well, let me just get this out here.
Yes, please.
You don't have to listen to rap music or breakdance to be a graffiti artist. I got some graffiti artists that's probably never listened to rap music. They may be listening to Bono, Sting, or Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin. But these boys got style too. You don't have to just be from the projects to do graffiti. So if you put that in the projects with an MC and a breakdancer, you're shortening that whole thing because that's how come with so much style. This guy's listening to the Police or whatever, but he got top to bottom whole cars and his arrows is ridiculous. Then you got the kid from the projects that's listening to Run DMC. They still have style. So graffiti it was the first one. So rapping and breaking came after us. So that's how that goes. You know what I mean?
We only have 1 minute left, and Something else, going back to the genres, we're talking about Common, or in listening to your earlier interview, Common, who is from Chicago. There was an album that he did that was not necessarily just hip hop rap as we know it. It sounded kind of like rockish, and that helped his range, that helped build range and audience, which also helped him succeed. So that's something else to point out. Now we only do have 1 minute left. Can you leave the audience with anything else that you would like to share from your history?
I spent a lot of time representing Chicago before anybody went to California, and I went to New York to ask permission to go into the art industry, and I'm just curious about the future of what writers are doing nowadays. And after being nearly hit and killed by a train, once I passed that test, I realized I'm necessary here. And I'm just happy that my crew accepted me, and I'm one of the Southside cats that had a dream. And Trickster picked me up, Slang embraced me, and Defsky made me like the leader of MPC. And I just lived the Forrest Gump life with that thing, and I'm just happy that it came out of Chicago. That's just what I like to leave.
Thank you, Orko. Thank you so much for being with us. Again, that was an interview with Orko, and you could find that same interview on our website at sharinghisenergygallery.net. That was an interview that we had here September of 2021. If you click on now, you'll be able to see the interview that we were just showing. And then also you notice that Orko was talking about the art world not accepting graffiti as an art form. We are taking those steps right now. If you scroll lower, please visit our art talk that we had with the 19th Century Club. If you scroll lower, you'll see Experience the 19th. That is the graffiti as an art form. I highly encourage you to check that out. And again, thank you. We will see you again next week.